Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Keys to ESP. This is episode 5, titled What in the World? Hello, I am John, the Chief Helm Officer of the SAV Quantum. I am joined by the other members of Team ESP today. We have Redacted Benson.
Hello.
Book of DC Trace.
What's up?
Jossie Rishklux.
Hello.
And of course, myself. And we are here once again to discuss and to continue our set discussion of this time Worlds Collide, the third set in the Keyforge, a unique deck game. How are you guys doing today?
I'm cold. It's snowing in Canada right now.
Ooh, thanks for the weather update. How about you, Benson? What's up?
Nothing much. It's been a long day, but doing well. Looking forward to this chat.
Awesome. How about you, Josh? How you doing?
Chilling, man. Just enjoying my Sunday off, planning for the work week ahead.
Cool. So, continuing on with our Worlds Collide discussion, we previously were discussing each of the sets. We're going on to our third set here, and this I believe is at least one of my favorite sets. And I'm not sure how you guys feel about this set as well. There are a few people that I do know in our local community that despise the set just due to a couple issues that we may touch on today. And then we will also, of course, discuss what makes this set so great, and perhaps if you are new to Keyforge, why you may want to check out this purple box that you see on the shelf at your local game store. So starting off, let's do a little roundtable discussion and touch off on recent happenings with us. How are things with Keyforge in your world before we even jump into the main topic? Josh, is there anything new going on in the world of Keyforge for yourself?
This weekend there was actually a little challenge tournament that was hosted by one of our community members. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it, but it looked like a lot of fun. As far as personally, I've only been creating content really. Haven't had the chance to play. I'm really I'm tempted to buy another display of Mass Mutation. So there's that.
Awesome. How about you, Benson? How are you doing with the world of Keyforge? How's that treating you?
Same information, same stuff going on. We actually weren't able to get any reps in this week, but yeah, just continuing to make content just like Josh is, and just keeping in touch with the Keyforge group on Facebook. Mostly like the usual questions about certain plays, triggers, and then the rest of it is just decks for sale. Keeping an eye on those 7 sin decks, you know?
Yeah, I saw a couple of them go up, and I think a lot of people are flipping their high-end decks as well, which is pretty interesting.
Yep.
DC Trace, you got anything happening in the world of Keyforge for you? I know you do a lot, so.
Not really. I haven't been able to. I haven't played with Benson. We normally play every week, at least once, but we haven't played at all. Been busy with life. Open boxes. I opened one display. I have one more display. I might open it tonight. I'm not sure. Just whenever I get bored, really. Not much. Yeah, decks for sale. Sent out some decks today. Nothing too crazy.
Cool. So it does sound like it's a bit slower in the world of Keyforge, at least for this week. So without further ado, let's just jump into the main topic, because I see that we do have a lot to discuss about Worlds Collide. There are many new mechanics that were introduced, different various types of cards that were introduced, and without jumping or doing too deep of a dive right off the bat, I want to actually see what do you guys feel like is your favorite mechanic or new item that was introduced by Worlds Collide that makes you perhaps enjoy this set a lot more than the others, or perhaps even maybe something you want to highlight that was introduced in this set, that made you perk up when you did hear about it or see it the first time. Anyway, one of you guys want to jump in? If not, then
Sure.
I can. Okay, go for it, Benson.
Since we were talking about it just earlier today, I think anomalies was probably the thing that really grabbed my attention that was introduced in the set. Just because it takes a glimpse into the future of the game, right? Like they grab cards from different sets that's coming in the future. May have mechanics in place in those sets that we've yet to see that are on these cards, and they can show up in any house. And that special logo that you look for, indicating that it is an anomaly, just makes you go, "Whoa, what can this deck do? That's kind of nuts because this card exists in here now. That isn't even a part of this new set, which has a lot of exciting things as well. So I think that was probably the more eye-catching part of it. That just made opening a new deck from Worlds Collide that much more exciting.
Yeah, I believe it. I think when I first heard about it, it felt like one of those super rare things that you could find.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. In other TCGs or other like card collecting games, I believe there's things called like I don't know, like shinies or like super rares or hollow rares or something like that, right? And I feel like anomalies kind of tried to touch on that, where it gave you like just a glimpse of something, and they appear, yes, on the face value. Some of those cards appear like super broken.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, and that little logo that you're looking for is a little lightning bolt, a blue lightning bolt, right?
Yep. I forgot it for a second, so glad you brought that up.
Cool. Any specific anomaly that you perhaps are looking for in
Ooh.
any deck that you crack open? Like the best one that you think is going for it?
I think
know there are a few,
I think
but-
we're all looking at lateral shift being the best anomaly to get, just because of functionality and like what the possibilities are. Because if I remember correctly, you play it and then you look at the opponent's hand and play one of those cards as if it were in your hand. So it's limited to the hand of the opponent, but you could play anything, and it's just like why mimicry is so good, or why some of the cards that just copy things are so good. That makes this one particularly powerful.
Fair enough. Yeah, and even in our previous episode when we discussed mimicry or these other cards, it allows for cross set use, and it's very versatile in that. Yep, for sure.
Yep.
Cool. Dennis, you got anything specific that you want to highlight? Specific mechanics, specific types of cards that showed up that made you really enjoy the set?
For me, would have to be the concept of leaders. It's not, their effects are very strong, but there's a little bit of a setback that you have to keep it in the middle of the battle line, which just balances it out, in my opinion. One leader is strong. Quite a bit of decks have double leaders, which makes it even stronger because you can manipulate your battle line a lot easier, compared to one, for sure. And their effects are strong. Since John asked what Benson's favorite was, my favorite leader would have to be Captain Val Jericho, just because it's essentially it highlights what Star Alliance does, which is house cheat. So imagine.
So what does
having a
Val Jericho do?
All right. So when Captain Val Jericho is in the middle of your battle line on any turn, you're allowed to play one out of house card. So let's say if your active house is untamed, you can play a Logos card or a Star Alliance card, which is essentially a house cheating. So it's great. I love that card.
You know, half of me was thinking that you might be going for Lord Invidious.
No, it's you have to activate it. No, I like passive effects.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. How about you, Josh? You got something that piques your interest?
Why, yes, I do. My favorite mechanic that was introduced into Worlds Collide was a little bit more on the procedurally generated card side. It's the blasters that were associated with a lot of the Star Alliance creatures. A blaster is essentially an upgrade that has the name associated to a specific creature, and it grants a specific effect after you either fight or reap with a blaster on, or you attach the blaster to the right creature that it matches. And my favorite blaster, in case anyone's asking, whether anyone's not asking, I will still tell you, is Freyne's Blaster. So this creature gains fight reap. You may deal 2 damage to a creature or attach Freyne's Blaster to First Officer Freyne. For those who don't know who First Officer Freyne is, it is a play, fight, reap creature that says you may capture an amber onto any creature on your battle line. And the beauty about this blaster is once you attach it to Officer Frayne, all the amber from Officer Frayne's on Officer Frayne will be moved to your pool. So I think it was the first time FFG has actually, or Keyforge has actually introduced manipulating amber on creatures to put directly into your pool. Usually that capture effect would just bounce the amber right back to your opponent, but this was a good way to get it back onto your own pool and have that delayed steal, so to speak. So yeah, really awesome stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, for me myself, I think there are a lot of different things, of course, that were introduced. I think the biggest one was for myself was purging and various ways to purge, and those, and whether it's the most infamous that everyone hates to see across the table is Infernuses, right, where you get a purge from their discards. But there's all sorts of ways to purge things now, especially from House Dis, with Buzzle, with E on the Fringes, right? Buzzle, 3-power creature, with Skirmish, where if you play or fight, you can purge a neighbor and then you can ready Buzzle. Like, that's amazing in certain situations, of course, but it allows you to get that extra punch in, or gives you that extra reap if you need it. And then there's E on the Fringes, which allows you to purge. It's a 1-powered elusive creature, which when you purge a discard from a discard, you can steal, which is like a double whammy if the opponent is also playing a dis house. So I think the various ways of being able to manipulate and to accentuate that purge aspect of the game, I think is a huge it's a huge shift. It causes a lot of people to have to think a little more differently and be a little more careful in terms of playing this card game, where cards can be permanently removed from the game on your end. So I feel like that's a huge aspect of this card game that got introduced in Worlds Collide, or more accentuated, right? Purging was always there, but it became a lot more on the forefront of people's minds instead of just something that was here or there, kind of a thing.
Yeah, for sure. And just to add, like, there's also Bornet in this too, which impacts the deck directly. So on John's note, like, just to add that point, it's not just a discard pile that can be targeted. It's like you said, the board can be targeted. The deck itself of the opponents can be targeted. So just it made it that much more powerful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's no escape from the purge.
I believe even was it so you mentioned Bornet, right?
Yep. Bornet, and then yeah, there's the action Bornet's touch too. Yeah.
Yeah, which I believe comes out of your hand as well, right?
For both of them, it's reveal the top 5 cards of the player's deck and purge a card that's revealed this way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it came straight out of your deck, yeah.
Yeah.
So the opponent doesn't even have a chance to perhaps even see it, right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And a quick way to break someone's combo, for sure. What else, perhaps? Let's see. There's so many topics. Let's go through, and from top down, let's go through the houses that were introduced as well. This was something that was a huge change, where Keyforge actually introduced 2 new houses. Mars was out, and we were replaced with the Star Trekky Star Alliance. And then Sanctum, the big dudes, were replaced by another set of big dudes, the Saurians, the dinosaurs, coming in with an exalt mechanic as well.
The Roman dinosaurs.
Yep.
Yes, that is correct. So based on these house changes, what do you guys feel about it? How do you, especially now, since we have been exposed to this set for quite a bit of time, do you guys like it? Is there perhaps a specific house you guys want to come back? Do you not miss it at all, and you're down for this new set of 7 here that's introduced in Worlds Collide? What do you guys think? I love Star Alliance coming in. It does have one of my favorite cards in there. And I know a lot of people are very unhappy with Mars going away. But I do believe some people are very happy with Mars going away as well, because they didn't really play well with anything else, right? So where do you guys stand? Let's go with Benson. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, like you said, I think Star Alliance essentially was a similar themed, but played entirely opposite to the original Mars, in terms of friendliness with other races and houses. In terms of those two new houses themselves, I believe they were absolutely like excellent additions. It changed up a lot of things in terms of what you thought about in the gameplay, things you considered, different states of the board that became much more important. Something like capture in the past that was just a passing thought, became that much more important in terms of where that amber is being held on the board, whether you can now utilize it because you have Saurian cards that use amber that's on the board. So, with that being said, I think those two houses also happened to take over the meta of the game in that stage, and were two of the most sought after houses in any given deck, especially during a sealed event. For myself, for sure, I was looking for the logo Star Alliance Saurian house combo as the main house combo to look for in this set. So I love them. I The playstyle for Saurians definitely wasn't my thing because I'm not much of a gambler, but I think that the high risk, high reward aspect of things has definitely altered the game quite a bit. And it was definitely something to look forward to.
Okay. How about you, Josh? Where do you stand? Are you Gucci with these 7 houses?
I am beyond Gucci. I am major Gucci. I love both Star Alliance and Saurians. Their introduction has made the game so much deeper in terms of your decision making, the layers added into being able to react and adapt to the board. Saurians with the introduction of warding and ember protection when you capture ember. Steel prevention was also introduced with Odoak the Patrician, which is a 5 power creature that says as long as there's ember on that creature, your amber cannot be stolen, right? And Star Alliance, often we look to logos as the supporting cast, increasing the speed of your overall performance in the deck. But Star Alliance with multiple ways to house cheat, flexible ways to not only play actions that don't belong to Star Alliance from your hand in the same turn, but also use and drop creatures and artifacts. So I love the introduction. It makes the game a lot faster, a lot more responsive, and yeah, couldn't be happier. My favorite deck from that entire set actually has both Star Alliance, Shadows, and Saurians. So well, all 3 of them. So pretty hype.
Still running with the shadows, I see.
Forever and ever.
For sure. How about you, Dennis?
Yeah, I didn't like the set Worlds Collide. I had a hard time with it. Didn't know how to play. Uh Granted, I had a rough time at that time during Keyforge as well, so I didn't really. You guys, we were playing right away. I had to catch up, but when I caught up, that's when I found the beauty of Worlds Collide. Honestly, the thoughts of it is it became a lot more board centric, which is shifted the whole meta because a lot of Coda and World and AOA wasn't super board heavy, and then Worlds Collide came in, especially with the Star Alliance and Saurian. Star Alliance, you can win a game with just the Star Alliance on the board. It's super threatening, and the same with Saurian. The big dudes became even bigger dudes because with the Exalt, it had a lot of rewards on it. Like, let's say your creatures can become stronger with a couple of different cards. Depends on the card you have on the board, the creatures you have on the board. It's gonna be hard for you to take out the board. Once again, Saurian, to me, in my opinion, Saurian house in Worlds Collide can stand alone. Like, that house can like literally obliterate a lot of the stuff on the board just by itself because it has amber protection, as you guys mentioned. It has wards. It has things that can anti-steal with a lot of different cards. I think 2 different cards that can literally change the game. Um, it can forge it its own. It can capture amber. It can do Saurian can do a lot of different things. That's the point of what I'm trying to say. And I think it's one of the strongest house isolated on its own. So
Yeah, I
a
think
lot.
I mean, Sorens does do a lot, but I think it has also one of the cards which I believe does not it causes something to happen where no other house can thus far, and that's exile.
Exactly.
Where you're allowed to give away one of your creatures to an opponent and shove it into the battle line. It's I don't.
There's one
Yeah,
more.
correct me if I'm wrong.
There's one more.
There's one.
Is there another?
Caper,
Is there
Scowly
any other
Caper.
card that-
Scowly Caper.
Yeah.
Scowly Caper.
From Shadows. You
Okay,
play it
but that
onto the
one
opponent's
is
side.
yeah, but that one is playing the card
Yes,
directly.
yes.
Right? The Scowly Caper goes to the opponent's side, but the exile allows you to choose any creature on your side to throw to the other side.
Yes,
right?
that is true. Yeah.
And Scowly Caper will, I believe, you stick it onto the edge as a creature, and then the opponent can treat it as belong to any house, I believe.
Yep.
But what happens? It destroys the neighboring creature.
Yep.
Yep.
Right.
Especially with Scowly Caper, you stick it to your friends. All his friends are dead.
Yeah. So it basically, so with Scowly Caper is a little different, but with Exile, what I'm saying is you can choose any creature on your side and just shove it to the opponent, which, I mean, combined with the Saurian house, with them capturing a lot, it is pretty brutal because you capture. It's another one of those janky ways to steal Amber, right? Where they capture, or you capture a bunch of their stuff, but then you throw it back at them. So when it actually dies, you got to take all the Amber back.
Yep, that
Exactly.
tribute combo, tribute exile combo, right?
Or tribute Six Emperor combo.
Yep.
Multiple ways. Yeah, but at the same time, I hear that no one hasn't mentioned any other houses except for the new two released houses of Starline Saurians and perhaps Logos and Shadows a little bit. I feel like at the same time, I feel really sad that Brobnar got kind of shafted. I know a lot of people. A lot of people aren't happy that that Brobnar got. Or feels like Brobnar got a really short end of the stick here, where this set almost appears to be a 6-house set with no Brobnar, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah.
I want to hear what your thoughts about this are, because is it actually that bad? I want to side on the side that Brobnar is okay in this set. It's not terrible. It has its role, I feel like.
It definitely has its role, and it plays on its strength of fighting on the board, right? I think the limitation in Brobnar is kind of that role, because when you depend on a fight, it requires you a turn to play it down. It requires you the second turn to use it to fight. And then when they introduced another house that had big dudes like the Saurians, it made that difference in power less frightening so the Brobnar wasn't that much stronger than all the other houses, because Saurians, being everybody's go-to at that point, could put up a fight in terms of the size of the creature. With that being said, I think this set really even pushes Brobnar further into the fighting aspect, given its leader, Kalok Stonefather, that if he's in the middle of the battle line, he gives all these big Brobnar guys skirmish, which is nuts. And a lot of their effects
is it just Brobnar, or is it anybody? It gives all your creatures skirmish,
all your creatures, yeah. But I'm just saying, because he's in-house Brobnar, that you imagine an army of Brobnar fighters and they all have skirmish, they'll never die. Things like that. But with a lot of board wipes and things like that too, it just makes it harder to use. It's definitely not impossible, but it's just more difficult, I think, and that's why Brobnar is limited in that respect and felt weaker. But for sure, they had their roles, and I still believe right now there's one style of deck that partners with the Saurians, where with the right Brobnar, it's nuts. And honestly, I was looking for that deck when I bought a couple displays back during Worlds Collide. I believe the main pieces of that combo I wanted was either Shattered Throne or Pile of Skulls, artifacts that help you control Amber based off of fights and destroyed creatures. I won't go into too many details at this moment, but that's the gist of it. And then by capturing the amber, you use the amber with your Saurian cards to spend it to forge, like Imperial Forge, to spend amber that's on your dudes. All that stuff in combination with each other would be incredible. So, yeah, I agree. They have their role. But as a standalone house, my take on it is that they are weaker within the meta of the Worlds Collide set.
All right, so I just want to jump in because Benson was talking about a specific Brobnar deck lineup that I think I actually have that deck.
Yeah.
If you guys want to look it up, it's called Yuriko, the Hovering College Butcher. And without diving into the details too much, I want to let you know that this deck has both Pile of Skulls and Shattered Throne in the same
Ooh,
Brobnar suite. So
that's nice.
and it's got double Gengar Chieftain, which on a when played allows your neighbors to fight, and a bunch of supporting cast Brobnar that really allows you to fight in order to capture twice as much amber as you normally would. And when paired up with something as amazing as a Saurian house with 2 copies of Library of Polyosaurus, which are 2 artifacts that says when you use them, you move an ember from one of your own creatures into your pool, it can be very devastating for your opponent. Um, there are a lot of ways through the Saurian whole gimmick to move Ember from your creatures into your pool. And Brobnar does have its place in the meta if it comes with the right lineup. I see it more as a supporting cast to Saurian, the way Logos was a supporting cast to the rest of the houses in Coda or AOA, for example. It sped up the deck. In this case, in this set, Brobnar speeds up the capture process and being able to transfer Ember to your pool, right? I mentioned Officer Frayne and Frayne's Blaster, and having a good Brobnar suite that captures a lot of Ember through fighting is a good way to generate Ember. So they generate it differently as well. I think my main gripe with Brobnar was a lot of their Ember control cards punished you as well or delayed you. It set you back. For example, Overrun had, I think you needed to destroy 3 creatures on your opponent's board in order for them to lose 2 Ember, and I just didn't see the power in that. Or I think the other card, if you guys can correct me here, the Power of Fire, which is you lose a certain amount of ember and then your opponent loses X amount of ember as well. So the ember control, besides the nice capture that you get, is kind of punishing for yourself as well. So
Yeah, just to clarify on
and
Power of Fire,
yeah, if you
you
don't mind.
sacrifice a friendly creature. If you do, each player loses amber equal to half the creature's power. Yeah, like you said, it hits both sides.
Yeah, and it also gives you a chain.
Yep, gives you a chain.
Yeah, exactly. So apart from like the capture aspect and the fighting and the really good fighting, because Shorty was an amazing card, guys.
Oh yeah,
Assault 4, right? So
Yeah, 4 power creature, assault 4.
yeah. So there are good cards in Brobnar. I just think the overarching, like specific Ember control, lose Ember type cards from the set, from the house, is just too slow. Yeah.
Yep, it's too slow. And I'll just point out one other thing: is Narp. It's a common. It's an 8 power 1 armor creature that delays any sort of amber generation Brobnar, making them even slower for that purpose, which is kind of the goal of Keyforge in terms of any given game, to forge a key, and when Narp prevents its neighbors from reaping, that slows down the game for Brobnar decks altogether.
I have to say though, having Narp in Worlds Collide at the rate that it showed up in specific decks, some people would have 3 Narps.
Yeah.
And those made great reversal decks, guys. I'm going to tell you right now.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
That is true. Yeah, I guess every set has that one card that people don't want to see.
Yep.
Kind of like me with Francis the Economist in our newest set, but well, that's for a future. That's for our next podcast.
Okay. The other part that I wanted to share, board wipes. Brobnar has 3. It has Ragnarok. It has the big one in artifact form, and it has Volcano. Volcano was a less effective board wipe that gave you just as much chains. Ragnarok is an alpha that wipes your board as well as the opponent's, and the big one literally blows everything up, and it may not be under your control when it happens. All those things, like 3 board wipes in a house where you want to hold the board and that wipe affects your side of the board, kind of hurts. Just wanted to add that point.
Fair enough. So, I mean, I guess it's more of the design of Brobnar in this set didn't really gel well when you look at everything else.
It feels like a house that was designed by 2 people separately. Like they rarely got together at the meetings and showed off their cards and see how they would interact.
Okay.
Okay, so jumping on to that point, what John was saying, the design of Brobnar in Worlds Collide to me is comparative to Coda Mars. That if you didn't find the right set of cards, it's pretty much dead. Because I'm getting a little bit off topic here, but I'm going to be quick with it. When we played sealed in Coda or in AOA, people are like, "Oh, I don't want to get Mars. If I get Mars, I'm going to lose." That's the point. It's just like when you don't have the right set of cards, it doesn't gel well with each other. My gripe with Brobnar is because, as everybody else said, it's became a fighting house. Saurian literally made a better fighting house, better board control house, better amber control house. Whatever Brobnar tried to do, Saurian did it a lot better. Also, for me, a couple of cards, which is Slimy Jark and Stiltskin. So Slimy Jark is a 1 power creature that if you fight with a skirmish, you enrage a creature, I think. And also Stiltskin, that if you play a giant creature beside it, it can ready and fight, and it has skirmish as well, which is 2 power. The point is, what kind of Brobnar house has a 2 power creature and a 1 power creature, right? It became a lot smaller. It's supposed to be the fighting house, but Sorin did it a lot better. And as everybody else said, it's slow, and you have to do a lot more than the competition compared to other houses. It's just way too slow for it to generate or to even run. If you have the right set of cards, as everybody else said, the archetype, you could probably run a board, but Sorin can do it a lot better. And also, this is not confirmed or anything. What I heard is just that if you look at the Worlds Collide box, there's a pianist. Like if you get the Archon display box, like 12 sets, the pianist of it, I heard that card got wiped out before it even got printed. And I heard that it holds Brobnar together. It might have been way too strong. I'm not sure. It's not sourced or anything, but something I heard in hearsay.
Oh, like
So,
in the Bracken band?
The rocking band, pianist, if you look at the Worlds Collide box, there's a pianist there in Brobnar. And I heard
piano playing. Okay,
yeah,
got it.
It might have heard something else, but yes. I heard that it holds Brobnar together, but it was apparently too strong, so they took it out. I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know.
Okay.
It was not a legitimate source. All right, it's just a hearsay.
The keyboard player. Got it. Yeah, that's true. I mean, outside of Keyforge, I guess with the lore, the whole Bracken thing was pretty cool. I would say.
Yeah.
Where they did the whole rock band thing. That was cool. I mean, I'm not a big rock guy, but it was kind of nice. I mean, to see that for Keyforge to extend beyond the card game and to have all this lore on the Crucible and everything. At least they elaborated more on that aspect. I felt like that was pretty cool.
Yeah, just off the top of my head, I know the vocalist is the guy from War Song in the first set, and then Flamethrower in this set is the guitarist. I don't know who else is actually shown so far.
Drummer Knot.
Well, Drummer Knot.
Oh, Drummer Knot. Yeah.
There you go. Mm-hmm.
Maybe when Brobnar comes back, they all band together in the same set.
Maybe. So how about the other sets, though? Or another set, sorry, the other houses. In terms of Dis, we spoke a little bit about Logos and a little bit about Shadows and Untamed. Was there a specific card in those other sets, those other houses that you feel should be highlighted as well, or part of something that you look forward to it when you do play a sealed or something? For myself, I believe for for Dis, I would generally look for, I guess, Infernus like everyone else. But one of my favorites is Obsidian Forge, combined with the Harbinger of Doom. That is one of my favorites. Just that combo. So Obsidian Forge. So there are multiple Forge cards that are artifacts in this set. So each house, I believe, has a different, some sort of Forge as artifact. For the Dis house, it's called Obsidian Forge. It is, you can action it. You sacrifice any number of creatures, and then you can forge a key at +6, but for every sacrificed creature, you can reduce the forging cost. So, and then Harbinger of Doom is a 2 power, 5 armor creature that when it is destroyed, you wipe the board. So, which is a great way to wipe the board, but then perhaps even forge a key for free on your turn as well. So that's something for that I look forward to. And then, of course, if you can combine it with a Soul Keeper, I believe. Is it Soul Keeper?
The one that Soul Keeper is an upgrade that allows you to destroy one of your opponent's most powerful creatures.
Sorry, no, I'm looking at the
Soul Snatcher.
Soul Snatcher, the artifact.
Yes.
The artifact where each time a creature is destroyed, you gain 1 amber. So when you combine Obsidian Forge and Soul Snatcher, you effectively get amber and also can lower the cost of a key, which is really crazy. So that's a pretty cool. Those 3 cards, I think, is Soul Snatcher, Obsidian Forge, and Harbinger of Doom. Those are a few cards that I look for if I have a Dis house coming out.
On the opposite end,
those are...
in just specifically House Dis, 2 cards I absolutely hated to see: Soul Fiddle and Wretched Doll. Both of them are artifacts.
Yep.
And like Soul Fiddle, its action is just to enrage a creature, so it's got limited abilities. No bonus amber or anything.
So that sounds like a problem with the whole fighty thing with the Brobnar, right?
Yeah. Like it felt the same way that Brobnar felt to me. Wretched Doll, which has a mechanic, but I don't think it's like fully implemented, or at least that's how it feels. So its action is, if there is a Doom counter in play, destroy all creatures with Doom counters. Otherwise, put a Doom counter on a creature. It's a 2-turn destroy 1 creature artifact. So works super slow, and honestly, one of the worst cards currently, which could change in the future. We don't know.
Yeah, unless there's a card that allocates Doom counters.
Yeah,
or
like
something,
spams
like
Doom counters. Action. Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna stay with this for a second. Biggest mechanic that Worlds Collide introduced is, as everybody mentioned, the purging. A lot more cards purged, which means a lot more decks got their combo busted. So when you can use your combo, let's say AOA, which is the biggest combo in AOA, most popular one is your Martian Generosity, Key Abduction. If you guys don't know what that is, figure it out from our previous episode. But yeah, Worlds Collide to me is more of a combo breaker set. A lot of the cards purged. Why I say this is my experience is that one of my best Coda decks becomes dead when it faces a Worlds Collide, because if I use one card, it becomes purge. It goes to the discard pile, it becomes purge. Because Infernus is a common card, it can occur in multiple different cards in the deck. Plus, there's ways to bring it back. We mentioned Hysteria from previous episodes, and there's another card that came back from AOA, which is Exhume. Play the card with an Amber bonus, and return this creature from your discard pile back into play, which means the play effects happen again. There's also a couple of different cards, like we mentioned. Forgot the name. What's the 3-power creature that purges the neighbors?
Puzzle.
And there's also a Greater and Lesser Oxtet. Cards like that. It's a lot of things to purge.
Mm-hmm. So, Josh, how about you? I mean, you don't have to stick with House Dis. You can definitely jump around. But what are a couple other cards, maybe perhaps from the other houses that weren't mentioned, that you feel like is worth at least giving a little bit of highlight to?
Oh, don't worry. I think you guys covered this very well. I'm going to dive into Shadows. Again, taking from my favorite deck, the 3 cards that I really liked from Shadows was Trust No One. It was a great way to kind of get around not having creatures on your side of the board. It's a action that says steal one, and if there are no friendly creatures in play, steal one for each house represented among enemy creatures. So you could steal up to 3 cards, really, which is 3 amber, really, which is pretty awesome from Shadows there. I love the Chain Gang Subtle Chain combination, where Chain Gang says after you play Subtle Chain, ready Chain Gang. It's a 3-power creature. Action: steal one, shuffle a Subtle Chain from your discard pile into your deck. And Subtle Chain is an action that when you play it gives you an amber bonus, and it says your opponent discards a random card from your hand. So not only are you disrupting your opponent's hand, but you're also stealing from them, and taking that Subtle Chain back from the discard pile after previously using it right into your deck. So it's really awesome. Fragile creature, but with the introduction of warding from both Saurians, Star Alliance, and even Shadows, there was a warding card as well. There's ways to protect it. In addition to that, I really liked underrated Kymor Eclipse, because Kymor Eclipse requires kind of a specific strategy into using it. It's just an action that says shuffle each flank creature into its owner's deck. So it's a great way to disrupt your opponent's Saurian board, especially if there's amber on those Saurian creatures, or any creature for that matter on your opponent's board on their flanks. But it's also a great way to protect your creatures who have amber on them. It makes you think, how do I spread out my battle line? Where do I give my amber? Which creatures do I get captured amber placed on? And am I going to have Kymor Eclipse fodder on the flanks to protect these creatures, right? For example, Ronnie Wristclocks was an amazing card you could Kymor Eclipse, because you're stealing and shuffling that creature right back into your deck. Just a lot of great. There's a lot of great strategizing and more subtle ways to steal, conditional ways to steal involved in Shadows, and that's why, like, those are some of my favorite cards. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you did bring up that there were some combos, or in every set. Most heavily in our last episode, we did mention Keyforge had a ton of, or Age of Ascension had a ton of combos that were introduced. So, is there a specific combo in this set that kind of you feel like is a highlight as well? I mean, for me, I already mentioned the Obsidian Forge Soul Snatcher combo. But I think for myself also, I want to say that the Saurian house, once again, we're highlighting that again. There is that Cincinnatus Rex.
Golden Spiral.
Yeah, and Golden Spiral. Where Golden Spiral is an artifact where it is ready, or action ready exalt a creature and then ready it as well. And then there is the Cincinnatus Rex, which is oh my goodness, it's a really big T-Rex. Six power, but 5 armor, was it?
4.
Or 4 armor, yeah. Cincinnatus Rex, 6 power, 4 armor creature. If there are no enemy creatures, you destroy Cincinnatus Rex, but it has the fight ability where you may exalt him, and if you do, you ready each other friendly card. So you can use Golden Spiral to ready Cincinnatus Rex, and then use him to fight, and then exalt him, and then use Cincinnatus Rex to ready everything else across the board, including the Golden Spiral and every other artifact. And then you keep going, and you can effectively rule of 6 everything to a certain extent.
And if I may just interject here, I think a really great third card to look for when you're looking for that combo is Legatus Raptor. And Legatus Raptor is a 4 power, 1 armor creature that says you may exalt Legatus Raptor. If you do, ready and use another friendly creature. You could go absolutely insane here. So you have a Golden Spiral using that on Cincinnatus Rex, which readies Legatus Raptor, which fights into something preferably with elusive or low power, and allows you to use another creature. For example, it could let you use Comms Officer Kirby, so you could actually play a card from another house, like you could play from your 3rd house, or you could use a creature that has house cheating. there's a lot of ways to use this combo when you have the Legatus Raptor piece, which is why I think that should not be understated.
Yeah, once you can house cheat and jump outside of House Saurian, that combo becomes much better.
Yeah, I mean, think big. Like, just instead of jumping out of Saurian, jump into using all three of your houses in one turn, right? It's amazing.
Yep.
To add on to that, let me say that I did pull one of these combination cards. He had a Cincinnati's Rex and 2 Golden Spirals. And when Worlds Collide came out, that was literally what everybody looked for. Everybody looked for that. Everybody wanted it. And whoever bought it, don't want to discuss their name, but they paid big bucks for it. So literally everybody wanted it. I was like, if you're willing to pay this much, you can have it. They didn't even negotiate. They just said, here you go.
So do you
and
think
bye-bye.
do you think that this combo was the combo that was matched compared to the
Jenka?
Martian Generosity Key Abduction from AOA, or is there other combos that might be even better?
I'll tell you one. Well, that's what I think, at least. For me, it would come to the house logos. Let me say the cards that you need is either you would need multiple copies of this card, which is the card called Edai or Eddie, which is a 3 power creature that when you play it, it allows you to archive a card. And for every card in your archive, your opponent's keys cost +1. So if you have multiple of it, every Eddie counts for 1, and every card in your archives counts for +1 key cost for your opponent. If you have 3 of it, it's like exponentially stacked. I played a game or watched a game, I don't remember what it was, that this guy had 3 Eddies with like 5 archive or 6 archive, and the key cost like 100 or something. Something ridiculous, because it stacks as a exponential. And then if you have the card Interdimensional Graft, if they're allowed to, if they kill those Eddies and they forge, they would have an Amber pool, and you take that Amber. So to me, that's one of the greatest combos Worlds Collide had to offer.
Okay, interesting. And then a Too Much to Protect comes in, and
there you go.
But that sounds like a really cool combo. I haven't seen that before. That's interesting. How about you, Benson? You had something on your mind about combos in Worlds Collide?
Worlds Collide. There's just too many good ones. Like the Saurian one you mentioned, that like it doesn't require that many cards either. That was great. I think the other pieces that might have turned that combo into the best thing ever would be if it came with Brachus and a key cheat. So with the Saurian playstyle, where you want to use amber or capture as much amber as you can, generate by exalting, which is the mechanic where you put up amber from the common pile onto the creature, and then you get to do something. Utilizing all those things to generate as much amber as you can onto your creatures. And if you have Senator Brachus, that is the linchpin. That is the piece that I've been looking for the longest time, and still don't have a deck that I can utilize that for. But have that and a key cheat. I think the main one I'm looking at is Imperial Forge, just for efficiency's sake. But that key cheat says play Forge a key at +8 current cost, reduced by 1 amber for each amber on friendly creatures. So that's each amber on friendly creatures. And Brachus is a creature that allows you to use amber that's on your creatures. So combining these two is nuts, because with the capture, with the exalting that can be done, you can generate and key cheat right then and there and use the amber you may have just captured right away. So it's more efficient than a steal. That's
a hard ask.
Yeah,
though.
it's definitely harder.
Man.
And yes, Brachus is rare. So that's definitely meant to be that way. And I think like even the Cincinnatus one is an uncommon at the very least, right?
No, Cincinnati's Rex is also a rare. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, okay.
It's a common, but
yeah, those are all rare. So that would have been an even better version of the existing combo in Saurians, and there's like I almost like varying degrees of quality of combos that can exist within Worlds Collide. But just to like add in like the other combos that we all know and either love or hate, let's bring in the Star Alliance and Untamed deck that we saw at Albany.
Disgusting.
Albany. Okay, so Star Alliance, we have an artifact called the Quixel Stone, which if a player
Okay.
has more creatures in play than the opponent, they cannot play creatures. This artifact changes the game completely, especially if the opponent doesn't have artifact control and he sort of way to remove it. Even like taking it from you or using it doesn't change anything. You have to be able to destroy it. So when this is on the field, if you just didn't have a board, the opponent can only have one creature on the board, right? Now, paired up with something from Untamed, which this deck had, was Fangtooth Cavern, another artifact, where at the end of your turn, you destroy the lowest power creature. So the deck we faced in Albany had 3 copies of Fangtooth Cavern, or the one I faced anyway, had 3 Fangtooth Cavern
let's
and a
say that.
Quixel Stone, and it also had Transporter Platform, another artifact in Star Alliance where you can action and return a creature from play to your hand, along with all the upgrades it has attached to it. So the combo in this deck that I played against, they never played a creature. They waited till all their artifacts were in place, so I could no longer play any more creatures, and my deck was very creature heavy. All the Fangtooth Caverns would end up killing at least 3 of my guys if I still had a board. And at the end, I couldn't play more than 2. So my board is gone by the end of their turn. I have to keep rebuilding. And for them, they just play the creature, play all the upgrades that have Amber Pips on them to generate, and then to transport a platform, bring it back to hand, and leave it that way. And I have
was there a Light of the Archons upgrade there as well?
there's Light of the Archons upgrade, maybe 2 copies of
which
that.
would make it big enough so would avoid the Fangtooth kill, right?
No, it doesn't matter. It's just relative, right? It's the lowest power creature on the field. So if there's only 3 creatures on the field, they're all dead. So yeah, it's technically if they wanted to keep that creature on the field, then yes, if you had a couple of Light of the Archons, you can increase that creature's power up, and then only the opponent's creatures be weakest. But you don't want to necessarily risk. Actually, yeah, no, that'd be fine to leave if the opponent had creatures on the field. But if there weren't any more than 3 on the field, then you would actually keep that in your hand, because otherwise the Fangtooth would kill it.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. I see. Yeah, you just play it all and then bring it back up. But
Exactly,
hold
and then
on to
exactly
it.
until next turn, and the opponent really can't do anything. So that was a nutso deck that I had to face, and like those kind of broken combos do exist in this game, albeit very uncommon or rare. But yeah, like aside from Brobnar, unfortunately, and I'm sad to say so, but everything else has like so many things we could talk about. This could become a 2-3 hour recording, honestly. But yeah, well, I'll stop it there. Yeah.
Yep. What a perfect person to talk about that deck, because he's the one who experienced it.
Yep.
So
Firsthand.
I'm sorry that you had to. Must have been tough. I'm so sorry. The reason why I said that is because, in my opinion, in the way I play, Worlds Collide gave the first set that I experienced that an artifact or any artifact can change the whole game. Because the first time I played a Quixel Stone deck against it, it kind of put me on tilt to the point where, how am I supposed to play? I didn't know how to play because I couldn't throw down creatures. I didn't know what to generate. I didn't know how to play around it the first time. It was really threatening / it really like played with my head because I didn't know how to play Keyforge at that point. Ever since then, I personally tried to pull Quixel Stone deck so that we have some sort of meta that we can play against. And now we have one. We were able to play around it. And so now, to me, it's not as threatening. My point is just that Worlds Collide introduced artifacts that literally changed the game. So as Benson mentioned, Quixel Stone, Fangtooth Cavern, John mentioned Obsidian Forge,
General
Soul
Order
Snatcher,
24.
General Order 24. But
can't
let me
forget that
highlight
outflow.
this for the person talking right now, Josh, Gambling Den, okay? That card, Josh, is the greatest Gambling Den player I've ever seen.
Seriously,
You heard it here, folks.
for
the
sure.
greatest
Alright.
Gambling Den player they've ever seen.
So if you see
Yeah.
him in an OP and he pulls out a Gambling Den, you're gonna lose. All right, you're gonna lose. Just
Remember, the
pound
house
back.
always wins. The house always wins, and it's Josh's house.
Okay, so Gambling Den, that's true. So Gambling Den is Shadows artifact that has an Ember Pip that when you play it down at the beginning of your turn before you even forge, you can gamble. But how you gamble is you flip the top card of your deck, you reveal it. If you get the right house, you gain 2. If you lose it, if you get it wrong, you lose 2. Let me just say, every time we play, there's one point that this guy got 7 straight turns with Gambling Den. And I'm like, he's not even counting cards at that point. I'm like, what the heck? So artifacts do change the game, especially in Worlds Collide.
Well, the question is then, there were other artifacts in the past that did change the way you play already, with coming with Speed Sigil from the very first set. I believe even Soul Keeper, or the
Soul Snatcher
Soul
was in
Keeper?
the first set.
Yeah,
Soul Snatcher
yeah,
was first
so-
set too, yeah.
Yeah, so both those cards were from the first set, and I think those changed the game a lot. And even Evasion Sigil, that did come out, I believe, in AOA. Right.
Evasion was in first set, was Coda.
Okay, yeah, but don't you think those artifacts changed the game, or did it not change it as much as with these new this amount of artifacts coming out in this set?
I think
that's the answer. To me, there's a lot more artifacts that changed the game compared to the previous sets.
Okay.
There's not as much artifacts that affected the game, but I think in Worlds Collide came out with more. So, as you always mention, you need artifact control. So,
Yeah.
to me, what
Yeah.
I look for artifact control every single time now.
Yeah.
And the nature of
and-
those artifacts were affecting the board situation, which in Coda, the meta was not revolving around the board. So
Yes.
those artifacts didn't matter as much.
Yes, and if I can just add to all of that and say that there's a difference between artifacts that affect creatures on the board and artifacts that affect your ability to play any creatures. Because you like the gravity of Quixel Stone, like its impact on the game state, it's not even an impact on the game state and the state of your board. It's really the impact of how you're gonna play the game, right? I mean, with a Doom Sigil, with an Evasion Sigil, with a Speed Sigil, you're still able to play you're still able to do one of the key things in this game, which is to play creatures, right? Because you can only do one of 3 things: play creatures, play artifacts, play actions. And if you have a card like Quixelstone, you can only do 2 of those 3 things until you take it out, right? If
Yeah,
your opponent knows
okay.
what they're doing.
No, fair
And
enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, and it's just so much worse.
That's true. Yeah. So
It's like a
I guess
perpetual life ward.
yeah, the question I guess is how do you play Keyforge, right? And it changes the way you have to play Keyforge effectively. Like, what is Keyforge?
Exactly.
Mhm.
It redefines what Keyforge is at that moment, and makes it a lot more thinky.
Yeah, I just want to say that if you have that artifact, it doesn't mean your deck is unbeatable. Okay, it just changes the game. It
Mhm.
changes a lot. All right, it's not unbeatable. Your deck is not unbeatable. It changes the game a lot.
Fair enough. Well, before we continue on with this discussion, I just want to say that we are reaching our 1 hour time mark, and I wanted to invite you guys to say. I know there's still so much more to talk about. Like, there's so many things about this set that makes us tick and makes us want to discuss. But was there, before we close it off, was there a play or something that happened with this set that is a true reminder of something that reminds you 100% of Worlds Collide only? It can only happen in Worlds Collide. I know Benson already mentioned his Fangtooth Cavern Quixelstone story. Was there something that's a highlight for this set for you in this set?
I'll go first. All right, it's actually I didn't pull it off. Somebody pulled it off. It was a highlight for me because I was playing a Quixelstone deck, and then my opponent, which just happens to be one of our teammates here, busted through that without even playing creatures. So if you remember, you used Soul Snatcher and Obsidian Forge to get away from the Quixel Stone. So you would destroy your own creatures so you can play your other creatures. And I'm like, if imagine having Obsidian Forge and Quixel Stone, you can literally manipulate the game. Point is, this guy generated Amber with creatures without even playing all of them at once. He played it one at a time by destroying its own. So it's a great set. It can do a lot of other stuff. It can bust through anything. I wouldn't anything if you play it well.
So for me, I think one of my highlights of this is having a deck that focuses a lot on something that is not highlighted a lot in the previous sets, and that's something called traits. I don't know if a lot of people even listening to this podcast, if you're new, you may not even realize what a trait is because there's not a lot of cards that really reflect upon this. It's that little word. A trait is that little word that's under a creature or artifact that tells you what it is. A lot of artifacts are items. If you look at Officer Kincan, he has 3 traits on there, which is a alien, a proxima, and something. But this deck that I have has Entropic Swirl, which focuses on traits. It's an action card. You play it. For every trait, you do 2 damage to the creature, and then you gain an amber for each of those traits as well. It has Harvest Time, which allows you to call a trait, and every card that shares that trait, you purge it, and the owner of those cards can get amber. And then I believe there's another card in this deck that also talks about traits. Or maybe not, but those having those cards in this deck that I have, it almost feels like you're not playing Keyforge because you're looking at this new aspect that isn't really highly introduced, but being able to utilize something that's been in the card design since set 1 is very, very interesting to me. So that's one thing that I feel like is a huge breath of fresh air for me. Of course, not a lot of cards do that. So it gives you something new to think about as well.
Just a quick jump into that. I feel like the game developers are really good at this. They give us little Easter eggs of how they're gonna proceed for the next set or so, or sets down the line. So maybe, just maybe, traits will have a little bit more effects on the game.
Yeah, no, I welcome that. I for one welcome something that introduces more things with traits. It's a lot of fun. Benson or Josh, you got any experiences that you want to share in addition that reminds you of Worlds Collide?
Yeah, I'm gonna say it right now, like the way Dennis said it. Gambling Den. Gambling Den was the first time I took counting cards really, really like seriously. To the point where more often than not, I would win the game with Gambling Den by setting up my draw so I would only have 1 card left in my deck. Because that would allow me to count the cards on the board, the cards in my hand, and the cards in the discard pile. And at that point, you really like there's not much you can do once you pass turn, and I'm 2 ember away from a key. I've actually managed to call a game-winning Gambling Den more often than not, which is why that artifact is always going to be near and dear to me from that set.
Benson or Dennis?
Yeah.
Well, Dennis did, but
Honestly, I don't have anything that really stands out in my memory, but I do have one of my favorite decks, and what Dennis kind of talked about earlier on was the how scary a actually no, I mean, you might be talking about Saurians, but how scary a Star Alliance board can be. So I guess this can be limited to Worlds Collide because Calm Officer Kirby is the highlight. So his ability, he's a play fight reap 3-power creature that you could play play a non-Star Alliance artifact, upgrade, or action card this turn. So revolving around the idea of house cheating. I have him. I have a deck with CXO Tabor, 3-power creature, fight reap. You may play or use one non-Star Alliance card this turn. You're going to see a trend here. It's using things not of that house. And once I establish this board, and I have stealth modes to prevent the opponent from using actions in case I know they have board wipe in their deck, I will sit on the Star Alliance house and just keep playing my hand, and it'll keep allowing me to draw, and I'm going to generate a crap ton of Ember every single turn as long as this board is active. And things like that, and especially with the action abilities for Commissar Kirby, which I had 2, so I could play 2 not like out of house. I could play a Binding Irons to give my opponent chains. I can play Exhume to bring back a creature from a 3rd house. If it was like a Ronnie to take him off key. Like so many different things that can happen in terms of jumping between houses in this set is probably the highlight of the set for me. And it does kind of revolve around Star Alliance.
Okay. Well, that's what Star Alliance does best, right? I believe that's one of their main pulling points of that house, the house cheating aspect of it.
For sure. Oh, and one other thing I just wanted to tack on. One part of Logos I really loved that was introduced was the 2 bots. The Reassembling Automaton and the Self-Bolstering Automaton. Those were unique creatures where when it's destroyed, it would just fully heal itself or even get stronger than before and stay on the board. Now, the reason why they're so good is there's certain upgrades in this set that affect key cost and affect steal. Discombobulator and Logos prevents stealing. Quadricorder increases key cost. My deck has both. And leaving it on one of those creatures effectively means unless you can wipe the board and also destroy him, you can't get it off the field. And plus with warding in this set, makes it even harder. So just wanted to add that part on too.
Well, thank you guys for joining us again, and also to our listeners in coming and listening to our podcast and supporting us just through listening. We are very grateful for all you listeners out there that are willing to lend us your ears for this hour or so every week as we discuss a little bit more about Keyforge and our experiences in sharing with this community as well. So feel free to reach out to us. We are Team ESP. Our email is extrashards@gmail.com, extrashards@gmail.com. Feel free to send us an email about your thoughts, criticisms, or even just to say hi. We are more than welcome and more than happy to hear from the rest of the community. Also, as another announcement, we have already been uploading video feeds of this podcast to our YouTube channel as well, also for Team ESP. So feel free to check us out on YouTube as well. And before we say goodbye, you guys want to share anything or have any plugs? TC Trays, you got a little bit to share?
Yeah. I just want to emphasize even more the fact that we are welcome to discussing anything. We just created a Discord channel. If you guys can plug that, I don't know it. We just created one, so we're more than welcome to for you guys to join that group. This Worlds Collide deck literally has infinite things we can talk about. We didn't even cover it. We covered the surface of it. So I want to emphasize even more, especially with the next episode coming out, that there's more things to talk about. We didn't cover it, so feel free, message, join the chat, join the Discord group. We welcome everybody, all right?
Awesome. And then any more plugs from Chaos Chrono?
I second everything that's been said already, and if anybody wants to find my content in terms of deck unboxings and reviews like that, then you can find me Chaos Chrono, ChaosChrno, on YouTube or on Twitch.
And Joe Dobby.
Yes, sir. You can catch me creating weekly unboxing / gameplay. It depends. Sometimes I think I'm gonna get pretty busy for the next few weeks, so we'll see. YouTube is just JODOBBI. Kindly subscribe if you guys are interested in that stuff. I do Keyforge and Digimon TCG.
Alrighty. So until next time, thank you for listening. And this is Keys to ESP. Happy forging, everybody.
Happy forging.
Happy forging.